Here we go. You ready? This is page 13 in your packet. Some of you haven't even gotten your packet out. What is happening? Guys, your phone should be put away now. I reserve the right to take them away if you're not doing your job with them now. All right, 7th graders, we are on page 13. I'm not sure why I'm not seeing books being opened. We're going to be on page 141 here. So you know where we're going. We're on page 13. We're going to do some review and then we're going to add something a little bit new today. 141. Guys, if you're tucking your handout, your packet right back in the page we left off in, you won't have to be flipping around all the time. You'll just be able to open your book and be like, ta-da, magical, right? So we can do this. We can work smarter, not harder. Okay, so yesterday we completed page 12. We reviewed a lot of things. We can think of this as adding a negative, or you can jump to both of these signs are the same, right? They're both negative, so we found the sum. So we're thinking 7 plus 2 is 9, but they're both negative, so we're at -9. The other thing that we were reminded of yesterday is that when we have a negative and a negative here next to each other, Deacon and Jason, I just moved you, and so we're hoping you can be successful there. I keep having to find a place for you to be more successful. All right, so when we change these both to positive, it's really like we are adding when we have two negatives like that together. Okay, so today on page 13, that's where we're starting off with reviewing those things. I want you to try 10, 11, and 12 so that I know if you are feeling comfortable or not. All three of these are done similarly. The first step you should do is show this work. Change, because you have two negatives. And then you should move forward with that.
What do I tell my mama? She asked me why you made me do that.
Because it's thankful Thursday.
Can I tell her?
No, your phone should be put away now.
I just like my mom.
All right. So remember when our signs are different, we're finding the difference. And then your answer has the same sign as the bigger number. When our signs are different, do not change the sign of the first number, only the two that are next to each other. So we're showing this work, change. Now our signs are different, so we're finding the difference. We find the difference, it means we subtract. So think big number minus little number. I think all of these signs on these three problems are different. I'm not sure why you're not doing anything right now. A little distracted, I'd say. And 10, 11, and 12 as well. Go back to the next house. My dears, when I tell you to do something, I expect you to do it. So mean, right? Here's what I need you to do. If you see two negatives here, the very first thing you need to do is make them both what? Positive. Do I touch this sign at all? No, the only thing I'm going to do is plus. Make sure this is done on your paper right now. Do it. I'm still walking around and not seeing this done. If I've done it on my paper, it should be done on yours, right? Some of you are just staring off into space. If you don't know how to do that, you should watch and you should listen, because I've already walked through this problem once, and I'm going to walk through it again, okay? So you're still responsible for the material. We've gone over that. I can't control who's here and who's not, but we have to keep teaching. I have to keep doing my job. You still have to do your job, okay? So here, my signs are different now, right? I have a negative and I have a positive. So I find the difference. Difference means I subtract. So I'm taking big minus little. You need to write something down, write it down. Which number has the bigger absolute value? 18, right? So 18 minus 12 is 6. Well done. And then my bigger number is positive or negative? Negative. So my answer is negative 6. See, you're doing better than you think you are. Yeah. All right. Well, we are doing 10, 11, and 12, and then we're going to take notes. That I don't know why you're doing number 14 right now, because we haven't learned that yet. All right. So here, what's the very first thing we do when we see these two negatives? Keeping the first, and we're going to change. So if you haven't done that yet, do it. Now, just like number 10, you should be able to follow the same pattern we did for number 10 to find the correct answer for number 11. Our signs are different, so you gotta find the difference, which means to subtract. So you're taking your bigger absolute value minus your smaller absolute value, or bigger number minus little number. Minus little, big minus little. The bigger number here is what? That's your big, your Careful, 40 minus 18 is not 32. Careful, 40 minus 18 is not 32. So here, you're being we found the difference here. But here, we're doing the same thing, we didn't taking that sign at all. The signs are different, we signs are different. Same with number 12. I don't know, I have to do it. I don't have a bar that one. No, that's one. I don't know what you're doing. How did you find this one? The first thing you have to do is what? All right. So the first thing we did here, you should show this. If you want to rewrite it, fine. This is negative 28 plus 13. When my signs are different, I find the difference, which means to subtract. So again, taking big minus little. So this is 15. Now, the sign of my bigger number, however, is what? Negative. If I have more negative than positive, my answer is going to be negative. If I have more positive than negative, my answer is going to be positive. All right. So hopefully the first thing you did on number 12 is you changed. So this is really like negative 18 plus 40. You have a negative and a positive, so your signs are different. So you found the difference. Some of you did not find the correct difference, so make sure if you're struggling that you're writing it out. So we should write out 40 minus 18, right? A lot of you just said this was 32. Well, that's 40 minus 8. But 40 minus 18 is 22. And in this case, unlike numbers 10 and 11, my bigger number is positive. So my answer stays positive. All right, we're going to look at how we would do these next few starting on page 141. Yeah.
Wait, what?
I basically already know what we're doing.
All right, so when we are substituting things, it's telling us that these are expressions. This is page 141. Remember, I always try and write it up on the board. Expressions are just like putting letters or numbers and letters in place of something. So they call this x minus y an expression. They want us to evaluate if x is negative 23 and y is 19. So we are replacing x for what x equals, and we are replacing y for what y equals. Do you see that? So they're rewriting this as negative 23 minus 19. So since we know that this minus sign is really connected to that second number, they're rewriting it, so we're thinking it as an addition problem. Do you have to do that? No, you don't have to, but you do need to know from now on, when we see a minus, that minus is connected to whatever the number follows it, whatever number follows it, okay? You know, it's kind of a new concept that you're expected to know all of a sudden. Kind of like switching from X's to dots or parentheses for multiplication, right? Now that you're big kids, you got to understand some more things. So once we do that, then we just simplify this or evaluate it, which means we just are trying to find the answer. Our answers when we're evaluating expressions should just be a number. So we should show our work, right? We should write out negative 23 minus 9 and then put in a negative 42 because our signs were the same, so we found the sum. So here's the deal here. The way I want you to do this is I want you to rewrite the problem, but in place of my P, I'm going to write parentheses. And then I'm going to make a minus sign, and then I'm going to write parentheses again where my Q is. So that I don't get any signs mixed up and I know where I need to put my numbers. So in this parenthesis, I need to put what P equals. Okay? So I'm going to make a negative 21. Hendrik, doing okay? Yeah. All right. And then Q here, we've got to put into this parenthesis here. So now this is a problem that we can solve, right? This looks a lot like this. So if you want to, you can rewrite it as an addition problem, right? This is equal to negative 21 plus negative 37. Or you can think of it, I have negative 21 and I'm going to the left more negative, so I have to combine these. So when my signs are the same, we find the sum, which means to add these up. I'm thinking in my head, 21 plus 37. And because I don't want to screw it up, I'm writing it down neatly so I can get an accurate answer. Now, instead of being 58, though, it's getting more negative. So our answer is negative 58. All right, so finding distance on a number line pops to example. Oh, we're going to learn first before we hit some examples here. So if I wanted to know the distance on a number line between -4 and 5, I would just count, right? Using the number line. I would say I have to go to the right 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And because I had to go to the right 9, it would be a positive 9 units. Now, if they ask me, what's the difference between 5 and -4, if I was going back the other way, it would be -9 units. But here, as far as distance goes, it's always going to be positive, which is why they're putting this absolute value bar in between there. So even if you get a negative answer, because they're asking for the distance is always positive. So that's why we're using the absolute value. So right here, I'm gonna write always positive. I don't want you to think that's always add, so make sure you circle it, or you could write out the word positive. Here, remember, if you have a negative number and you're getting more negative, it's being added together. So you have -9, right? Your signs are the same, so you find the sum. What's the absolute value of -9? Remember, our absolute value is always positive. So the absolute value of 9 and the absolute value of -9, they're both 9. The distance would be 9 units. So our distance is always going to be positive. All right. So that is exactly what example 4 is about. If we find the distance between -9 and 8, maybe you think, okay, well, I know to get from -9 to 0 is 9 units, and then to get from 0 to 8 is another 8 units. So that helps us break it up in our head a little bit for sure. So we can find the difference there to say that there are 17, right? So you can think about it by counting how many hops you have to take on the number line, or you can find the difference. So -9 minus 8 would be a -17, right? Because your signs are the same, so you found the sum. But remember, our distance is always positive, so we take the absolute value. So try out this check on page 143, okay? Try that check there. I'm coming around to make sure you're understanding. We're gonna take the difference. So -5 minus 9. Remember, the difference means to subtract. -5 minus 9. Your -5 is negative, and your -9 is negative, right? So we just put a minus sign in front of it, so that makes it negative. And our signs are the same, and we're finding the sum. So you should be thinking -5 minus 9. The 5 is negative, the 9 is negative. Or you're thinking, I'm at -5 and going even further to the left and getting more negative. So we're finding the absolute value. Now, could I do the same thing and find the difference the other way? Could I say 9 minus a -5 and get the same answer? That's a great question. I should be able to, right? So this is the absolute value of -14, which is equal to 14, right? And this is the absolute value of, remember, we would have to change here. The absolute value of 14 is equal to 14 as well. So either way you do it, you can do it either way when you're finding the difference. But you should know the difference is to subtract. The distance, you find the distance by subtracting one to the other. You could add them on top of each other, however, if you have two positives, then that will throw you off, right?
Not really.
If I was trying to find the distance between 4 and 10, and they're both positive, you wouldn't say 14.
I mean, like, look at the
For these, if one is positive and one is negative, yes. But I want you to know why and why we wouldn't do that for everything. All right, so example 5, finding the distance between two things. Notice here we have a big positive number, and then we're subtracting a negative number. Sorry. So when we're trying to find the distance, we need to know this distance here plus this distance here, right? Which means we're subtracting a negative, which changes, right? Change. So that is how we're doing it. And we know the absolute value is always the positive version. So that one isn't difficult. They did it for us, right? They showed that when we subtract a negative, we're really adding. This is the real life application of these integer rules, right? If the top of an iceberg is 55 feet above sea level, right, that's positive. Well, the bottom is, so we're subtracting the difference. We're going to say top minus bottom, right? But our bottom is not a positive number. Our bottom is a negative number. So we're really subtracting a negative. So that really means we have to add. You could do it the other way, and you could do bottom minus top. You'll get a negative number and end up with an absolute value. But remember, this really means the absolute value of 55 plus, because we change 385. So 5 and 5 makes 10. 8 tens plus another 10 is 9 tens. 9 tens plus 5 is 14. So I have to carry the 1 again, and then I have 4 hundreds. So the absolute value of 440 is, of course, 440. Okay? So that is, now some of you were asking about the next few problems on page 13. Oh, don't close your book because you're going to want to stick your packet in there when you're done. Your, page 13, remember, we're going to put parentheses in place of A, bring down our minus, put parentheses in place of B, and then we're substituting. Wherever we see an A, that's where we have to put what A equals. In this case, it is 10. Wherever we see a B, we have to put in what B equals. In this case, it is -7. Alert, alert, right? When we see two negatives next to each other, we have to change them to plus plus. So this is really just 10 plus 7, which you can do. Okay? We're going to do a couple more together because these other ones are the other examples that we saw, and I want to be sure you are on the same page. So does number 13 make sense? What's 10 plus 7? You can do that. Put the 7 in the one place. You do that in your head. Put the 7 in the one place. 1 7. What number is that? Right? I have 7 ones and 1 10. Those 10 plus numbers should be automatic, my dears. All right, set up this one. In place of X, you're gonna put what X equals. In place of Y, you're gonna put what Y equals. Try that one. This one's a little different, right? We have -11 minus 26. -11 minus 26. Good, the signs are the same, so we find the sum, but if they're both negative, you're getting more negative. Negative 11 minus 26. Yep, they're both negative. So if there is a minus sign in front of a number, that number is negative. If there's a minus sign in front of that number is negative. So if I wrote this out, I have a negative 11, don't forget the sign, and a 26. This sign makes that 26 negative. So this is really thinking about it like negative 11 plus negative 26. If it helps you to write that out, do that. If you know your signs are the same, so I'm finding the sum and you can jump right to finding the sum here, right? 11 plus 26, 7 and 3. Some of you wrote positive, but we know our answer has the same sign as our bigger number. In this case, they're both negative, so it's getting more negative. Think in your head, does it make sense? If I start at the negative 11 and I go left 26, I'm getting more negative. So it makes sense to add them. It makes sense that it's a negative answer. Okay, we're always wanting to think, does this make sense? All right, the difference between means we're subtracting. You can think negative 6 minus 7 and find the absolute value. Or you can think 7 minus negative 6 and find the absolute value. Either way, you're subtracting. To find the distance, we find the difference, which means to subtract. So here you would have negative 13, and the absolute value of that is 13. Here you would have, remember we would change the absolute value of 13, which is also 13. Anywhere you do this, you should get 13 units. All right. So try number 16. I'm going to come around and check, make sure you're doing okay. Then you can go ahead and put that away. You've got about 10 minutes or so for Alex. Guys, the answer is not going to cut it. The answer on your paper is not going to help you on a quiz. So in the work, how you got that answer will help you on your quiz. Quiz being Tuesday. I may have told you it was going to be Monday, but I decided we could do it next to review Monday. So quiz Tuesday. So be thinking, if you're not caught up in your packet, you got to get that caught up. But is it negative or positive? Distance is always, that's why I have those absolute value bars up there. So you might want to take a second, Kyra, and write this down so you know how you got that. You're gonna be able to use that. You are more than welcome to neatly put your things away, but get out your Chromebooks because we got at least 10 minutes.
Yes, I want. That's what I'm looking for bad for you.
It's not mine, it's just 10 cents.
I know, but it'll give you.
I know it's not a lot of cents, but somebody else's opinion is on time, it's just 10 cents to me.
Oh, you. Why would I? Well, I have to. Yeah.
I have a Stanley, a timer class, and a simple modern. You know what I like most? Not my favorite. Family's probably like number 3.
It's overrated.
Alright, watch out, let Vincent put his stuff
It's
away.
overrated. That's why I bring my pink one.
Why do you have to be one of those though?
Well,
Overrated.
yeah, I like them to have ice in them. Sometimes I have my family too.
My mom has 2 of them. She has one full of coffee, one full of water. One that dehydrates her, and
This
then
was
one
my,
that rehydrates
this is
her.
my coffee. This is my water, and I put flavoring in this bottle only, so I don't make the other ones dirty. And then if I want more flavoring, I just pour from that into this.
Okay.
So that I'm not making all the straws grody and flavored.
So, I'm a desk. I see any of them. So even if it's -7.
That 7 is negative.
So anywhere.
So you would find the sum. But the only little tricky bit is if you have minus a negative and then you want to be alert, alert, we gotta change, right?
So you're like this.
Even harder to out. You like this.
Every time I look at the Alex, it's like,
You can't go straight to Alex, you have to go to Clever. Did we save Clever? Okay, go through Clever, honey.
Please bring my bird up.
Wait, I think that no, guys, the thing is, you gotta jump into it. Do it. Jump into it. I just got 2 topics done.
Super duper. All right, my loves, I know you're like, think you're done with math, but you're not. You should be working in Alex. Some of you are having a hard time following directions. Come on.
I probably just said I'm wrong. I'm not gonna use it. I promise that.
How do you sign up for soccer?
Soccer for what? The why?
Like, yeah, like how do you
Like my
sign up?
children's name? Yeah, my little. Ladies, especially ladies, and some gentlemen need to be in their seats, please. Thank you.
I'm trying to clean my seat. In your feet. Technically anywhere. How far can you keep back? Probably pretty far. Because last year I was able to go. Like not flat, but like I was like here and I still wasn't falling. What are you saying? Stop going.
In about 4 minutes. Guys, if you're not done with the knowledge check, you really gotta cruise.
They've heard me say it. It's because I forgot that I was supposed to be Alex because of dance and then my brother's football practice. So when I get home, it's time for me to put all of my electronics on.
Oh my gosh, I love this picture.
Her smile is so hilarious.
Miss. That's a cute.
It's cute though. It's cute.
That's kind of cool. You can see what it looks like with the backgrounds.
Ooh, I like that one. It's so cute though. Her picture's so cute. What school did she go to? Central. I've never seen her at Central. Well, maybe because I don't go there no more.
Yeah, she's a.
What time do we
That's not
speak at?
first floor,
18.
yes, yeah, I thought she really was,
What grade is she in?
she's in the third.
Dang, I really don't be paying attention to the little kids at Central.
Yes, my loves, have a good Thursday. Tell someone you're thankful for them today.
I said, if he comes, I said, I'm reasonable.